dreams. You have some good dreams this morning, Simba?
Do you, Bubs?
Shit, let's turn this off. Okay, so this morning, man, I've been getting a lot of good shit. But the OBVR lucid dreams, if I wait too long to do them, I can forget a lot of them if I don't write down a lot of the details, if they're too lucid dreamy. Because I went to, like we were driving from Dallas to like Fort Worth, and we were in the car forever and ever and ever and ever. It took forever and ever and ever. And then we went to a grocery store and shopped forever and ever and ever once we got to like Fort Worth. And I've already forgot a lot of the details about that. But then I went to Dallas again a couple mornings ago, or yesterday morning. I didn't forget that one. But, okay, so this scenario started out, it's like I drove to my mom's house, but that wasn't part of the scenario. It was like I drove to my mom's house. I was, except that wasn't part of the scenario. Just the thought was, and then I was sitting in my car. And that was the part. That's where it started. The scenario. I was sitting in my car in the driveway, and my mom was like looking up at the sky, and I was like, "What are you looking at?" And so then I got out and I looked up, and there was a UFO, and it was shaped like that. I've never seen one shaped like that before. But it was shaped like that, and I was like, wow, a UFO, and I thought maybe it was alone, and then I looked over to the left, and like I say, this was OBEVR lucid dream, and I looked over to the left of that one, that UFO, and there were a whole bunch of airplanes and government agents in the airplanes. And I could like see them and everything, and I started like flipping them off when I realized that UFO wasn't alone. Now that UFO, it wasn't a government vehicle. That was a real UFO. But all those airplanes, those were human airplanes, and government agents were in the human airplanes. And so I started flipping them off, and I somehow knew that they could see me do that. Even though it was, long ways up or whatever, and I was a long ways down. Okay, so then, I looked up, and then all the government agents started coming down they started jumping out of their airplanes with parachutes. So they started like coming down. And there was at least 8 or 9, maybe more, maybe 10 or 11, and for this template I just put 3, and 3 agents, but there were about 8 to 11 government agents that was jumping down from the airplanes, the parachutes. Okay, so then next thing I know, I don't know where the hell I'm at. But I don't know, what town or whatever. But anyway, next thing I know, I'm in a basement. Well, in the scenario, to me, it seemed like a basement to me. It just seemed like a big old basement, a storage basement. And I've never been in that basement before. It wasn't familiar at all. It was after I started to wake up or whatever. That's when I had thoughts of, was that supposed to be like an underground base? But anyway, in the scenario, I thought it was a basement. But I guess it was kind of like an underground base. And, okay, so then I was just, so I walked around for a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. No, wait, hold on. I forgot something. Okay, so when they, when I was still, like at my parents' house, and I started to see them jumping down from the airplanes, and they started dropping. Okay, and I actually saw them land on grass. Okay, that's where I jumped into another. That's where I went to another yard or whatever. I don't know what yard I was in, or some big grassy area. That's where I was in another locality. And that's when the agents, they started walking up. They just started walking up to me. And so I just started to, stare at them as they started walking and approaching me. And then a few seconds later, that's when I ended up in the underground base, aka basement. And I started walking around, observing and everything. And there was just like a whole bunch of tables and boxes, just like in disarray and shit. It just looked like some kind of storage basement. Just like a whole bunch of tables and crap. Just plain Jane tables were everywhere. Cricket and stuff. And then there was a bunch of boxes everywhere. It didn't seem real big. It didn't seem like a real big area. I mean, it's fairly big, but not like what I think a huge underground base would look like. And so then I proceeded to just go sit down at a table. And there were 2 or 3 other people with me, and I don't know who they were. I mean, in the scenario, as far as I remember, 2 or 3 of the other guys were kind of familiar. They weren't the agents. They were kind of familiar, but I can't really remember who they were now. And then, so basically it was just kind of like, hurry up and wait. Because I knew they wanted me to do some kind of experiment or something, but they weren't really telling me. And so I was just sitting there at a table, and I started to get some paper too, and I started to like dabble with some paper, and I started writing stuff down and shit. I don't think it was important stuff. I just can't remember what I was writing down, but I was just kind of writing stuff down to pass time. And there were at least 7 or 8 male agents and about 3 women. One of the women's kind of had light goldish or reddish blondish hair, kind of curlyish. And that was when, at that time, I was standing up and kind of walking around and observing the place. And she was way over to the left part of the wall. And she said something about, she said that she said they called me something devil. And I was thinking in my head, well, she doesn't really seem evil or anything. Damn it, I wish I remember exactly what she said. But she did say, they called me, that's my nickname, is something devil. And, but like I say, she didn't seem evil or anything like that. It was just a nickname that, other agents had given her. And, anyway, but this whole time, I was just kind of like, I don't know if I could trust these assholes, you know what I mean? I didn't know if I could trust them, all these agents and stuff. Like I say, there were about 8 or 9 men and about 3 women. And I just didn't really know if I could trust them, and I didn't know if they were going to be like dickheads to me. But they never were. They never were dickheads. They never were bitches. But I just kept thinking like they were going to be or something, and they never were. And, yeah, so, and so that part was kind of funny. And like I say, I was just thinking in my head, like, well, I wonder why they gave her that nickname, because she didn't seem evil or anything. And so then I went over there and I sat down at a table and started dabbling with a white piece of paper and just started writing stuff down to pass time. And like I said, it was basically just hurry up and wait. And, okay, so I just want to make sure I'm remembering everything. Okay, and then basically the last part, okay, hold on, let me just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But like I say, it wasn't like a perfectly square basement. It seemed like it kind of had some hallways, a few hallways off to the side, but we weren't in a real huge basement or underground base. It wasn't real huge. And I'm not saying any of this is real. I don't think any of this was real. This was just virtual reality, and probably Joel gave me this. I think he pretty much gives me most all my experiences, at least 90%. But I know he doesn't give all of them to me, because a lot of the flat-faced reptilian beings, well, actually, and this wouldn't really be the type of experience Joel would give me. Let's see. Anthony the alien, he would give me this kind of experience. Anthony the alien. So he could have given me this experience. I don't know what he looks like in his true form, but he's a reptilian. So this would be the type of experience that he gave me. Or that he would give me. And then like the flat-faced reptilian beings, they like to give me, you know, those other experiences like to England and Guatemala and all those other places. But yeah, so I don't think Joel gave me this experience. But I know an alien gave it to me most likely. So the last part of the scenario, and like I say, basically it was just kind of like I was waiting around, you know, sitting at the table, waiting to see what they wanted me to do or to see what my purpose was or whatever. Okay, and then the last part of the scenario, one of the male agents like stood up, and I was still sitting facing another direction, and he was like over here, way over to the left of me, and I was facing like east, and then he stood up north or whatever. And I'm not sure if that direction is right. West, I mean. He stood up west, and I was kind of like facing north, and he stood up west, and then I cocked my head to the left, and he was standing there, and that's when he said, okay, I'm going to contact a Pleiadian. Okay, this is hilarious. He said he was going to contact a Pleiadian. And then, and I knew somehow that they wanted me to talk to him or something. You know, I mean to communicate with the being or whatever, the Pleiadian being. I can't even say it. Pleiadian being. And so basically that was my purpose, but that never did happen. They never did show me, I mean, you know, this reptilian that gave me this experience, he never did show me a Pleiadian or whatever, and I never did communicate to the being. But anyway, that was the end of that scenario, but that was kind of freaking cool and fun. Okay, and then yesterday, I think I have time to talk about one more real quick. Yeah, like that one website, Coould or whatever, now they're charging for you. They want to make money if you want to merge your videos together. So I got to make sure I say everything because I don't want to have to merge any, and I don't want to double it up and put part 1 of 2 and part 2 of 2. Okay, so basically, this experience I had yesterday morning, and like I say, about 5 days ago, or maybe a little longer than that, maybe 6 days ago, I was driving forever in the car, and I was actually in a car with like my uncle and my sister and a few other people, and we literally were in the car driving from like Fort Worth to like Dallas, and it took forever, and we were in the car forever, and then we finally got to Dallas, and then we went to a grocery store, started walking around forever and ever, and it was fun. But I can't remember much more than that because I think I waited too long to talk about that one. But yesterday morning, I was in Dallas again, and it was like fun. And it was just so weird and bizarre, but I don't know if I would be really talking about it if it wasn't for this one bizarre part of the scenario. Okay, so basically, I was in Dallas, and I was walking around. Well, no, basically, I started off sitting at a really very ritzy restaurant, and then I was sitting down, and there was about 4 other guys who was with me, and I knew them. It's like they were friends or something. I knew them, and it was a pretty big restaurant. It was a pretty big restaurant, and this was a really weird thing. There were, and I wasn't eating yet or anything like that, but as far as there was stuff on the table, and food and stuff on the table, but I just hadn't gotten my food yet. I wasn't eating yet. Yeah, because there was a lot of bowls and plates and stuff on the table, and other people were eating, but I wasn't eating yet. And so I was sitting there with these 4 other guys or whatever, and okay, there were snakes. These snakes were like 12 to 16 inches long. 12 to 16 inches long, and they were just like crawling all over the table, all over the floor. Several of them, many of them. And the scenario, now this scenario, I think it could have been Joel that gave me this lucid dream. This OBEVR lucid dream. It could have been Joel that gave me this, because that's something that he would do. He would put snakes in my scenario. But the funny thing is, I felt like it was just so disgusting. Like the whole restaurant was so disgusting. As I was looking at all the snakes and shit, I just felt like, it was such a dirty environment. But the funny thing is, even though the alien programmed me to think it was snakes, they actually were really more like worms, like very slimy, big, thick night crawlers. That's what they were more like than a snake. Except in the scenario, the alien told me they were snakes, but they were just crawling all over the table and all over the floor. And eventually, I wasn't like getting any food for whatever reason. So I got up and I walked to the restaurant. I mean, not the restaurant part, the grocery store part. This grocery store was hooked on to this restaurant, and this grocery store was so big, it was almost kind of laid out like a mall. And, in real life, I've been to a restaurant that was hooked onto a mall in Atlanta. So that's where the alien got this idea. So I finally got up, maybe because I was repulsed, I can't remember, but I was just sitting there a long time and I hadn't got my food yet. So I got up and started walking down the grocery store part. And I started walking, and all to my left there were, food cases where the food was stored and stuff, and refrigerated cases and stuff. And then finally, I got to an end of a display, and there were these big old bags of like beef jerky. And so I picked one of the beef jerky bags up, and I was looking at the ingredients, and I noticed it looked like, because I was trying to see if there was gluten in the ingredients, and it looked like some of the words were blurred out, like by technology or something. But anyway, I went ahead and bought I went ahead and bought that bag of beef jerky. And then the next thing I know, I had bought like, this is so weird, but, after I bought the beef jerky, the bag of beef jerky, I kept walking, and I walked pretty far all the way down, and I turned the corner over to the right. And then I thought, shit, man, I'm going to get lost. I better turn back now, because I didn't want to get lost and not find my way back to the restaurant. So that's when I turned back around, and I was heading back towards the restaurant. And then I looked down at my hands, and I had bought, it was kind of like a half, a big, thick, like it was over an inch thick. I bought this half moon shaped bread, and my intention was to put the beef jerky on top of this bread. And I knew that it was like almond bread. I knew that it was called beef jerky bread, but the funny thing was, I know this is weird, but it was called beef jerky bread, and I knew I wouldn't be allergic to it since it was made out of beef jerky instead of wheat. But when I looked down at the bread, it was actually like really dark color. It was like a real dark brown, almost blackish. It was a dark color, and it was very soft and gummy, and it was like over an inch thick. It was a bun, basically. And I had bought me this bun. It was made out of beef jerky. And my intention was to eventually put the beef jerky on top of that bun. But I went ahead, and as I was walking back to the restaurant, I started eating it, and it tasted like so good. It tasted just like normal, white, sweet, yeasty, gluten bread, wheat bread. That's what it tasted like. when you get white flour and you put yeast in it and sugar, that's what it tasted like. And like I say, when I was younger, when I was 4 years old, I hated that kind of bread. And then when I got older, I started loving it. Because like I say, I think when I was 4 years old, my psychic ability was trying to tell me something, because now I can't eat it. And I can't eat, I'm allergic to most all foods now. Yeah, it's not, people are so stupid. They think oh, gluten-free food, that they make you think, oh, you got celiac disease, so you can eat all this other fucking gluten-free food. Any food that's labeled gluten-free, and I guarantee you 99% of celiac people can't eat fucking shit. They're sitting there eating a banana, watermelon, that's about all they can eat. Beef, that's about all they can eat. Yeah, go look it up. That's the truth. All this gluten-free fucking food, that is for these dumbasses that are just kind of intolerant. You know, they get the shits if they eat too much, and that's about it. Or they get constipated. It's for intolerant people. It's not for people with true celiac disease. That's a fucking scam. If they actually, because most celiac people become allergic to millions of other foods, fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, and all other grains. Well, all gluten-free food has grains in it. And it's still fucking up celiac people so bad. And they're walking around thinking like me, oh, I'm getting traces of gluten in me and that's why it keeps fucking me up. No, they are freaking allergic to all those grains that's in it. Corn, rice, and all the other fucking bullshit they put in gluten-free food. It's all a fucking scam. And like I said, basically, if they make gluten-free food and they didn't put any grains in it, well, then you're getting into another market called fucking paleo. Paleo food is 10 times, it's all about fucking marketing. It's all a scam. Paleo food is 10 times more expensive than fucking gluten-free food. But yeah, it's all a motherfucking scam. And, I've already figured this out on my own. My natural doctor, diagnosed me basically. And the funny thing is, when you go to a natural doctor, the test that they give you, it routinely tests for gluten fucking problems, wheat problems. When you go to a mainstream doctor, they do not. You could be like, oh, I'm bloating all the time, I'm shitting all the time, I'm shaking uncontrollably all the time, and I can't stop it, I'm shaking, and it fucks your body up so bad. And they fucking don't routinely test for it. How fucked up is that? Okay, well anyway, like I say, when I was 3-4 years old, my grandma was giving me those rolls, very sweet, yeasty, gummy rolls, and I was spitting it out, and I was hiding it under my feet. I was hiding it in the rolls in my pockets because I hated it. As I got older, I was totally in love with sweet, gluten-y, sweet bread. I didn't like rye or anything like that. I didn't like sourdough. I only like sweet bread. With the sugar, yeast, white flour, milk. That's all I like. Really sweet rolls and stuff like that. Cinnamon rolls. I mean, I was in love with it. And, until I knew I had celiac disease, which 2017, I'm sure I had it way before then. Because the symptoms are so subtle at first. It takes many years before you finally start fucking throwing up and all that. But yeah, this other person, well anyway, it's kind of scary, but this other person was, they were like, it's like we're aliens from another planet, because we can't fucking eat wheat, and that's basically, well yeah, and I guarantee you, they're probably all hybrids, like myself or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, it's just really weird. But I mean, yeah, just as long as, you realize you just gotta eat fucking fruits and vegetables for the rest of your fucking life, and beef and cheese. I'm not allergic to cheese, so I can eat a shitload of that. You're fine. I don't have any problems at all. I just had an allergic reaction to beets, because that's why they sat in my freezer forever, because I know I become allergic to almost everything, so I was afraid to eat it. I ate the first little bite, I couldn't tell. I ate the second bite, and I was like, oh shit. And that's when I started to react. Of a little beet, frozen beets from my mom's garden. So anyway, I know I'm allergic to beets now. But yeah, I've never felt better in my life, because I just eat the same shit over and over again, and I don't introduce anything new, and I've never felt better in my life. But yeah, it just kind of sucks. And I don't know if I became allergic to cocoa, sugar, or milk. when I took the allergy test, I was not allergic to cocoa or milk at that time, but that was almost 10 months ago. I could have become allergic to it since then, so I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get enough nerve to try it. But hopefully I can maybe still make me some chocolate milk if I'm not allergic to cocoa, sugar, or milk, but I would still have to buy those gluten-free, it's called Easy Gluten, and I could test all the cocos just to make sure they're gluten-free, because that's important. So I could, if I'm not allergic to cocoa or milk or sugar, I could buy, the little testing thing. Okay, so anyway, but yeah, so I was eating this like yummy bun, basically. It was a bun. And it tasted just like the sweet, yeasty, dough, what do you call it? Rolls that my mom used to make, my grandma used to make, and that I would make from time to time. But it was like so good. And it was actually called beef jerky bread. It was made out of beef jerky instead of, almond flour or any other kind of flour or whatever in my scenario. But so that was kind of cool. So as I was eating that bread, I started walking back to the restaurant. Okay, let me see here. Dallas walking here, go hooked up to Ritzy Restaurant, but a little more like gonna get lost. What did it say? Came up on display. Hi. Yeah, so I went ahead and bought the bag of beef jerky, and I had the beef jerky in one hand and then the bun in my left hand, and that's when I started eating it when I started walking back to the Ritzy Restaurant. It was very thick and soft, and yeah, like I say, it was very thick and soft and designed like a half moon. And like I say, it tasted just like white, yeasty, rolls that you would make homemade. They were so good. Okay, I started to eat it, and I could taste how it tasted like normal white, gummy, yeasty, sweet flour, which I love. And I was stunned that it didn't taste. Oh yeah, and I was stunned because I knew it was made out of beef jerky, and I was stunned that it actually didn't taste like beef jerky bread. It tasted like wheat bread. Okay, my goal was to put the beef jerky on top of the bread. Okay, I finally made my way back to the restaurant down the wide aisle of the store while eating the bun. I sat back down with a group of people again and started to look at the menu. And at one point I got up and I asked one of the men that I knew, I was like, how can people like this ritzy, expensive restaurant with all these snakes crawling around the table and floor? He said, well, the patrons had just become accustomed to them, so it doesn't bother them anymore. But I thought it was totally gross, and I even felt totally gross, grossed out in this scenario. Okay, then I sat down, and I was sitting there for a long time looking at the menu, and there were the menu was so weird. There were these odd pictures that I could barely see for the food items, and I could barely even see them. I couldn't see them very well. And one of the guys at the table told me to flip the picture over, and that is when I could see the food item, so I could know what I wanted to order. And then over and over again in my head, I told myself I wanted almond pancakes, eggs, cheese, beef. But the funny thing is, I said that over and over again, and then I was still saying it as I phased out of this awesome, fun, lucid dream. So like right when I woke up, it's like I was still saying it. It was really weird. And like I say, I was still saying that over and over in my head as I phased out of this awesome, fun, lucid dream. But then, but when the snakes and stuff were crawling around, I just felt like the whole place was just so dirty and disgusting. The aliens, they have a way of really making you feel feelings and stuff under the scenarios. But anyway, it was a fun experience. But it's just the worms and stuff was they were actually snakes. But when I woke up, I realized they were really more like just really big, huge night crawlers. And it was just, so disgusting. I actually know what they would taste like because the aliens gave me this virtual reality experience many years ago where I ate some of them. And they were like so gross and so bland. Oh my God, they were so gross. Well, I virtual reality ate them, not in real life 3D, but under altered state. And well, that's when they somehow, I don't know what they did. They made my yard fertile or something for these worms, and all these worms start sprouting out. I think that was back in 2017. It rained real bad, and I think it was March, and there were all these huge night crawlers all over my driveway. And then a few days later, they gave me this virtual reality experience where I was eating some of them. And, ooh, man, they were like, ugh. They weren't good. It was very bland. That was gross. But that's about how repulsed I felt. When I ate those in 2017, that was how repulsed I felt, in the scenario when I saw them crawling all over the table and the floor. I mean, they were just like, ugh. I mean, they were crawling pretty fast. They were moving pretty fast, too. Okay, well, that was the end of that scenario, and I've had some more, but I can't let this video go on too long. I'll have to make another video. Okay, thanks for listening. Yeah, so if you know anybody that says, or they just became diagnosed with celiacs, they cannot eat gluten-free food. They can't eat, I mean, they're not going to be able to eat any other grains or hardly any other foods either. You know what I'm saying? That's just part of the disease, I guess. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Bye.